Alright lads, so obviously my internet career was about, as popular and long running as Bully Hunters. Like, seriously, that shit blew up. But I thought it's not too fair on all the social commentators if I, steal all their views by making a Lele Pons video. So I thought, fuck it, album review, let's go. So like most people, I probably found McCafferty through the song Dead Bird, and holy shit, that is a good song. The album itself, Beach Boy, is fucking 10 out of 10. It's a really good track. But I'm going to talk about the album that came out earlier this year called Yarn. It's a bit of a weird one for me because it's quite distinct from the Beach Boy album, which I was a big fan of. But that being said, that doesn't mean it's a bad album. It just has like a very different sound in my opinion. So if you haven't heard McCafferty before, they're sort of in the emo genre, like a little bit emo punk, kind of pop punk. I don't really know where to categorize them. Emo as a genre kind of confuses me in the categorization system. Like I know a lot of there was sort of the emo revival in the mid 2000s that people sort of put like MCR and Panic at Disco and Fall Out Boy in, but I've always considered emo to be the more like Midwest emo style of like quite 90s style, like Tiger's Jaw, La Dispute, I guess. Of course, American Football would be the kind of go-to classic basic bitch emo album. But yeah, I'd say McCafferty are emo, but they've got this really nice sort of slightly pop punk, like really nice catchy instrumentals. But one thing you'll notice on the Yarn album is they're a bit heavier, like they go a bit more towards the hardcore styles, maybe a bit more alternative rocky. I've seen them being compared to like a discount Blink-182, but I'm enjoying it. I do like the album, it must be said. I think it will probably divide some of the older fans that have been with them for a while, but as someone who listened to the Beach Boy album for a couple of months and then a few months later the Yarn album was released, I think I was able to transition quite easily. One criticism I'm seeing quite a lot is how many whoa-ohs there are in the album, and honestly the first time I listened to it I didn't notice it, and then the moment I saw someone's comment about that I couldn't stop. It gets a little repetitive and it's kind of slightly cringy at some points, but honestly it's not enough to bring the whole album down. I've also seen people complaining about how much he swears on the album, but I mean, if you don't like swearing, like it's not a huge issue. I personally don't mind it, and I think that actually swearing is a really good way to get an emotion across. Like I think it can be overused, but in this case it's probably not. There's a couple of tracks that really stand out to me. Loser, which is the opening song on the album, is a really nice opening. It's a bit basic in terms of lyricism, but it's just a sort of really simple, quite catchy track, really nice melodies to it. It's just a pretty good opening, energetic song right out the gate. I wasn't too sure about the track Scotland when I first heard it. It seems a little bit out of place on the album at first, but honestly it is a great song. Some of the vocals on it are just honestly haunting. The line, "What kind of God lets children die," just goes right through me every time. And me just saying that really doesn't do it justice. Windmill is probably my second favourite track because the opening to verse 2 with just insane. The tempo change, it's so good. I would say my favourite track of the entire album has to be It's A, just because it's so dark. Again, the vocals are really haunting, really deep. There's a lot of interpretations of what the song's actually about, which I won't ruin if you haven't heard it yet. I'd like to let you go in fresh into it and not have my interpretation ruin it. Although I will say the only thing that really distracted me was that for some reason the intro just really reminds me of the song Black Beatles by Ray Shremmerd, whoever the fuck that is. These guys, the ones that made like the Mannequin Challenge song. And then the final track is a great one. It's Toei Gumbo, where however the fuck you pronounce that. It's a nice wrap up. You've had some really heavily energetic songs. You've had some quite shouty songs, and it just really dials it back to calm you down a bit. Just relax. It's real lamentation. I think of all the songs on there, it's probably the most honest coming from the songwriter. Feels very personal. Feels very conversational almost. Like it's almost like he's sat with you just saying, hey, this is how I'm feeling. It's pretty shitty. I don't think McCafferty are doing anything necessarily unique, but I think what they are doing, they're doing decently. Like, they're probably one of my favourite artists at the moment, just, until I find someone else, maybe. Pretty much only criticism is it just feels a little bit sloppy in places. Like the album isn't necessarily, it's not totally coherent. I think there's a lot of different ideas going on that could have been implemented just slightly better. Overall, very decent album. I'd give it a slightly above average. I would give it a 7.47 out of 10.